Hey everybody, we are teaching Vermillion. Right now, we're going to look at the short, flat brush, which pretty much fits its description. So let's go to headset and check out the rack. Here we are at the rack, and these two guys. This one, the bristle short, flat brush, and this one, the smooth short, flat brush. Now, often we have two brushes in one flavor, but in this case, they're actually two separate brushes. We have the smooth, and again, we can make him, if you look closely, you can make him a little bigger, a little smaller. Or the bristle version. Moving your thumb controller left and right is what's making it bigger, smaller. Okay, that is the small short, flat brush. We're going to use the bristle for this particular example. So this is it, the short, flat brush. Let's get nice up and close so we can see. Now, if we move our thumb controller left and right, you can see how the brush tip gets a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. That's the only control for this guy. If we were using, say, the other brushes, we might be able to control their size, that type of... No, not here. Bigger, smaller. Likewise, our smooth versus bristle are two actually separate brushes, not two versions of the same brush. So if I'm painting with bristle mode and I want to go into a blending smoother mode, I'll actually need to switch tools, switch brushes. So I'm using the bristle, which means if I'm painting with some paint, it's a little easier to see the separate bristles in the brush as I paint. So instead of a smooth single stripe, I've got much more of a bristly effect here, thinner, smoother lines. This is also going to come into effect if I'm doing stippling action, where I'm just tapping the point of the brush against the canvas. The smooth brush will leave a more consistent blob, whereas the bristle brush will give you a few more speckles, a few more blobbies within itself. We're going to actually switch into a tight view of the brush itself to do some of these examples. Here we go, switching to zooming in on the brush. And now we're going to switch the zoom onto the brush. Okay, so here is the brush itself. And as you can see, if I paint, I'm just leaving threads of paint in the form of bristles. And it does indeed show you visually which side of the brush I'm now low on paint. And as I use more paint, it's going to get more and more used up till there's no more paint on the brush. So if I'm going to go in here with just a little bit of paint and a light touch, very smooth, very thready, little bit of paint, tapping. You can see it's nice little blobs. So this will be good for things like highlighting leaves on a tree. Or I could do a little short stroke for more of a grass texture. If I press harder and get more paint on the brush, more paint, now it's going to be smoother to start with. And again, even with the thick paint, my bristly brush is showing the lines, showing the threads. If I switch to the smooth brush and load it up with paint, it's a much more consistent, thick line. Bristle versus smooth. I can still point to get the stippling effect, but you can see with a smooth brush, even if I get rid of a lot of the paint, not much paint left here, it's still going to give a fairly smooth, just get a little bit of paint, a fairly smooth brush. So compare that to the threadiness of the bristle brush. I can control the size left and right. You'll notice each size is also a different brush. So I could get a completely different color of paint for one size and go back to the original color paint for the other size. I'm going to need to clean both brushes separately. Now I'm going to clean my bristle brush because I don't like leaving paint in my brush, both sizes. So whether you use it for stippling, for painting, the small flat brush gives you much tighter control for smaller details. Whether you're doing little details at the top of the pine tree or doing brushy waves on a lake, smooth or bristle, short flat brush. Let's go back to the studio view because that's really about it for this brush. Very straightforward. So that small flat brush pretty much works as advertised. This is one a lot of people are going to use for details. We'll use the larger brushes to get the color blocks to put where things are going to be, but then switch to the smaller brush for more control, for leaves and branches, for flowers, for lines, for any detailing. We've got these small flat brushes of both styles to give you a more control on a smaller scale. I hope this gives you a good idea on how these guys work and what they're used for, and gives you some ideas that you can play with in your own art. Let us know if you have questions in the comments below. We try to do this all the time here at youtube.com/shamelessmayhem, so give us suggestions if there's things you want to learn or tools you want to study. This has been Teaching Vermillion, the oil painting program in virtual reality. Have fun, everyone.